The commission is called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Here.
Mr. Rigsby?
Here.
Mrs. Tackett? Here. Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here. City manager?
Yes, thank you, Commission. Tonight we have one work session item, and with us is Leanne Castillo, who is the Director of Clark County Park District, and she's going to talk about the benefits of the parks and provide us some facts and information about an upcoming issue that will be on the ballot here in May.
Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to come to speak tonight. Just to give a little bit of background for people that may not know, on May 1st, we will celebrate our 2-year anniversary of the 2 countywide park districts being united. And we have been excited to see all of the progress that we've made and reaching the goals that we set out to achieve once we combined. And coming up on May 5th, we do have a renewal levy for the parks. And this renewal levy is a 10-year levy, and it is based on your home valuations from 2011. So this is, our funding still remains based on the 2011 valuation. So I think that's very important for people to know. It is not an increase in taxes. It will just help us stay where we are and maintain the parks that we do have. It was first approved in 2011 by about 58% of the voters that voted to support the parks and give this funding. This funding gives us about 75% of our maintenance budget. So this is a very important part of what we do to maintain the 33 parks in our community. This renewal does support all of the parks, the mowing, all of the athletic fields, the tree work, the multi-use trails, all of the green spaces that you see. So this is something that will affect all people across Clark County. And one of the things important about this levy is that it is approximately $21 for every $100,000 that your home is assessed. And that's still very confusing to people because when you see your tax bill, you don't see the amount that's for the park district because it's not a large enough number that it's listed. So one of the things our committee did is they wanted to find out what some real costs were. And I've shared this a couple of times, but they gave 2 different addresses of people on the levy committee just to see what they paid per year. They didn't even know. So when the auditor got back to them with that information, the one home was valued at just over $520,000 currently, but because the tax is based on their 2011 valuation, that person is paying $54 a year for the parks. The other address that they gave them was for just over $195,000, but since it's based on their 2011 valuation, they are paying $16 a year for the parks. So that is a very good bargain for what we get. I truly believe that everyone in our community is touched by the parks in one way or another. If you've ever been on the bike path, you've driven through Snyder Park, you've gone to George Rogers and taken a walk. If you've taken your kids to a playground, gone fishing, it affects all of us. And parks do make very vibrant communities. It's a very vital asset and something that's important to everyone. When an employer is looking at a place to have their business or someone's thinking about moving to our community, they're going to look at a few things. Some of them are the schools, police, fire, and then what can we do when we're not at work or not busy doing other things? They want to see what type of activities they have. We offer around 500 different activities each year for ages 6 months through, I like to say, 125 years. So there is truly something for everyone, whether it's nature, recreation, nature education, summer camps, athletic programs, history programs, whatever it may be. One example is 2 weeks ago, the 1st Mad River Light Artillery crew held a cannon class. 32 people attended this cannon class to learn how they operate that cannon. And that's pretty special to know that there are 32 people. Not all of them were from this area. I believe they had someone from Indiana that even came here to take part in that. So it is truly something for everyone. And we strive very hard every day to make sure that we're offering clean, safe parks for everyone. It is a 0.6 mil. And again, it's based on your 2011 valuation. And this is just to maintain our parks. People always ask, well, what are we going to see? What new things are going to happen? This is just to maintain the parks as we have been. But if we're not successful with this, we will lose 75% of the funding. And at that point, that is detrimental to the parks, how they're maintained, how we operate, and what we're able to offer. So we just want to make sure people understand that. And it is for 10 years. In 2015, we passed our second levy, and then this time did it for 10 years so that we could have some stable funding that we could count on. It does, like I said, 33 parks spanning over 2,100 acres. We have 30 miles of bike trails, and for those people that don't know, it is part of the largest continuous paved path system in the United States. We have over 350 miles of connected trail here in Southwest Ohio. So you can jump on the Simon Kenton Trail and go up to Bell Fountain. You can take the Little Miami Scenic Trail down to Loveland. You can hop on the Buck Creek Trail and go out to Buck Creek State Park. The Prairie Grass Trail is part of the Ohio and Erie Trail. You can get all the way to Pittsburgh and then to the East Coast. So there is truly something for everyone. One of the questions people have asked, there is a bridge that's out at Buck Creek, at Beaver Creek, at Old Reed Park. And we understand that the construction for that will be done this week. They will be finishing the approaches to that bridge, so that bridge will open back up to connect the Buck Creek Trail clear out to Buck Creek Park again. So we're really excited about that, as well as the weight station in Snyder Park. That's been a long, tedious project getting that moving, but the materials are finally with the contractor. They're preparing those, and we hope to see that start in the coming weeks. So we do have a lot of things that we've been waiting on, working through, that are coming to fruition now. The venues and facilities that we have operate aren't just for the parks, but we also work closely with the Springfield Arts Council, who's celebrating their 60th year this year for the longest running free arts show in the United States. And that's been housed in the parks for many years. I just looked back today and learned that it had was back in Davie Moore in 1975. Every Thursday for 4 weeks, they had it in Davie Moore. It's also been housed in Snyder Park as well as Veterans Park. So we're very proud of that partnership, and then all of the many other partnerships we have with local service groups, the Ohio OSU Extension, the Master Gardeners, Rotary, Kiwanis, the Exchange Club, just so many people that have made things possible in the parks without using tax dollars. So I did give you all a fact sheet, and there are some up at the table if anybody wants them, but also our spring guide is there. Our summer guide is being completed, and then that will be mailed to every household in Clark County in the coming weeks. So if you see something with this Discover Parks on the front of it, it's not junk mail. It is filled with activities and things that you can do with your family and friends and neighbors. So I can take any questions that you all may have.
Well, I just want to say thank you for your hard work. Since the year I came on commission, I got involved with the Parks Group, and just have always admired your leadership. I say this, I think, every time you do that, but you do a great job, and this organization is thriving in our community, and we want it to thrive. I believe the commission, in the last meeting, we resolved to support this levy, and we encourage our citizens to vote in the favor of this levy. So I appreciate you. And other comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I too just want to commend you for the work that you do at the parks. I know that my experience as a mom, at the end of the school year, the first guide I grabbed was the National Trails and Parks Guide, because there's so many activities for kids. I can't imagine losing the opportunity for families and kids to have any of the programming that you provide. So thank you for what you do, and I hope that continues. I also want to make a note just to think through, like, you're asking for the same amount of money since what it was in 2011. And when I think about how resources and costs have gone up, like gas and any of the supplies that you need, you're not even asking for the increase, you're asking to maintain it like it was in 2011. I think that's something that citizens should consider when voting on this. Thank you.
Again, I think we have a very much underappreciated park system. You can go to a lot of communities and they don't have nearly the services, the parks, the things that are associated with our park system that we have here. And it's sort of, one of the things that I had heard was that we spend less per acre on our parks than any of the other 88 counties. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Actually, across the nation,
Oh.
each year we put our information into the National Recreation and Parks Association. This is in the centerfold of our book, but per parkland in our community, we're spending about $1,284 per acre. And the other organizations of our size throughout the country that we're compared to, they're spending $3,700 per acre. So I'm sure there are many things we could do in addition to that, but with the money we have and the staff we have, we are trying to do the most. Our operating expenditures are $25 per capita compared to the national average of $94. And the one we're proud of is that we have a 36.7% cost recovery compared to the others, compared to us that are at 24.6. And we're doing that with 82% less staff than the other communities of our size. So we are really trying to be responsible with those tax dollars, and we have a very dedicated team that's out there every day making sure that the parks are open and available for everyone.
That's exactly what I'm hearing, is that our park system, we get the very most bang for the buck of really anybody. And for that, we have a tremendous parks program. We have youth activities. We have things that many other communities envy. So I can't say enough. I hope this levy succeeds.
I just want to say thank you. I know firsthand what you do and how passionate you are about every piece of land that you have. I know this is a short time limit and you didn't get to mention everything, but just so you know, and if anybody's listening, she does the best with what she has for every piece of land she has. And you go out and you can go above and beyond things to get things done. And I see it firsthand, especially at Davie Moore Park with what you're doing. And I know if this levy's passed, it will be in good hands and you will do exactly what you need to do. And that's what you've been doing. So thank you.
I'll just finish up by saying how important it is, your partnership with the Springfield Arts Council. When people show up at the park, at the Veterans Park for the Summer Arts Festival, and they talk about how great of an area it is and how beautiful it is and how well kept up it is and everything, that is you, and that we don't want that to go away. So again, I'm just like everybody else up here, I just encourage everyone to vote for this levy. And thanks for everything you do, Leanne.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate you passing the resolution a few weeks ago, showing your support for this. And it is very important for the city of Springfield and all of the Clark County residents to have good, clean, safe parks to enjoy every day of the year. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Is there a motion to conclude this session?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. The public hearing scheduled for 6:45 is called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Here.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here. Has proper legal notice been given for this hearing?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of receiving comments on the fiscal year 2026 annual action plan was published in the Springfield News-Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached hereto is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on March 16, 2026.
I move that the communication be ordered, received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Staff report.
Mayor Rue, Commissioners, good evening. Logan Cobbs, Director of Community Development. This evening, I'm presenting the city's fiscal year 26 action plan for our HUD entitlement funding. This plan really outlines our proposed use to invest federal resources to address housing, community development, and neighborhood needs here in Springfield. So I'll walk through our allocations, our timeline, and our proposed budget for your consideration here today. Thanks for your patience. So this slide really provides a high-level overview of our HUD funding and the framework really guiding this plan. A little bit of how HUD arrives at these figures. So HUD determines our annual allocation really based on a national formula that considers several factors across the country: population, poverty levels, housing conditions, that means the age of our homes as well as our stock, growth lag, and then also community need indicators. So these factors are really intended to direct funding to communities that need it the most. So Springfield's annual action plan is due to HUD no later than August 16th. This is the second year action plan under our 2025 to 2029 consolidated plan. I feel like I was just before you all recently, or some of you recently, when we were talking about the consolidated plan, talking through last year's action plan, and time's moving quickly. But as a reminder, our consolidated plan is a 5-year plan that really talks about how we plan to allocate federal funds over the next 5 years. And then that's carried out through annual action plans. So every year I'll come before you with an overview of proposed uses, and we'll submit that to HUD every year. During the comprehensive consolidated plan, I do think it's important to note that a needs assessment was completed, as well as a market analysis, stakeholder engagement, focus groups. So we had significant community input there, including town halls, and over 500 surveys were completed. So what you'll see tonight is nothing new. It's really just a continuation of the priorities of this body and really the community as a whole. Now it's working. Awesome. So just briefly talking through the timeline here, this is more just for your reference. As you can see, we're moving fairly quickly through a fairly structured federal process. A few key highlights: we're actually in the midst of our fiscal year. So our fiscal year is April 1 of 2026 through March 31 of 2027. I think that's important to note. And we just received these allocations that are before you about 2 weeks ago on April 3rd, which really kickstarts our ability to finalize this plan. The public comment period for our annual action plan officially closed today at 5 o'clock. We did not receive any comments. That's not abnormal. But it's really just an opportunity for the community to read through the plan and provide feedback if they see fit. We've completed our public notice, draft the publication, and then of course we've met with Community Grants Advisory Board, who recommended approval as well. So talking through next steps, final commission consideration or second reading will take place on May the 4th, which is a Monday. And then our goal here internally is to submit this by June 1, which may be a record for Springfield, getting this in way ahead of the deadline. So while this is a fast-moving process, it's one that includes multiple opportunities for public input and then, of course, your oversight as well. Getting down to the nitty-gritty here, this slide really represents our full fiscal year 26 entitlement funding in one comprehensive budget. So a couple of important notes here. I presented this slide to the Citizens Government Academy a couple of weeks ago, and their feedback was specifically for affordable housing, which is that last slide, which is that last point there. They said, why is it only 19%? And my feedback was that 19% is our total, based off of our total allocation that we received to HUD. That's actually 100% of the home dollars that we received. So keep that in mind. Same with that first line item. That's 2 different funding sources combined. So overall, this budget is fairly similar to our fiscal year 25 budget, both in structure and how funds are being distributed across priorities, of course, again, based off of our consolidated plan. The consistency reflects our continued focus on housing stability, neighborhood investment, and support for our most vulnerable residents. So, in short, this budget just continues the work that we've already begun while staying responsive to the current needs of our community. And as always, I stand by to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Cobbs. Is there questions from commissioners?
Pretty comprehensive report you put together, considering that for a long time, we didn't know if we were going to get any money this year.
Sure.
If they had stuck to the budget that was recommended by the president last year, we would have got $0. So
As
having
is the
this-
case for fiscal year 27 as well. Sorry, didn't mean
Correct.
to cut you off,
Correct.
Commissioner.
The budget that was just submitted also has $0. So if that happens, all that goes away. So good job on that.
Sir,
Thank you.
thank you.
Other comments from commissioners? Thank you very much for the report.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Did anybody in the audience have any comments to the hearing on CBDG funds? Having none, we'll ask for a motion to conclude this hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and call the formal comment or the comment period time together. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Here.
Mr. Rigsby?
Here.
Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here. City Commission remains committed to creating a conducive environment for constructive and productive dialogue and engagement for the community. Those wishing to speak must fill a public comment card and provide their name and address for the record. A state-issued ID and driver's license must be provided while filling out a card. Only those residing in Springfield and Clark County will be permitted to speak during the public comment period. Comment cards will be accepted up to 15 minutes after the start of this comment period. Those who are determined to have provided false information on the card will not be permitted to speak in this meeting as well as the next regularly scheduled meeting. We're truly committed to making the meeting an environment where people have the opportunity to share their thoughts, ideas, and concerns. While we fully respect the First Amendment rights of all individuals, disruptions or any conduct that impedes the orderly progress of the meeting will not be tolerated. Should any individual be escorted or asked to leave due to disruptive behavior on 3 separate occasions, they will be notified that they are considered trespassed and barred from attending any future City Commission meetings. As a reminder, the Citizen Participation Guidelines allows comments on legislative items. Each citizen may comment up to 3 separate agenda items, and that total would be 3 minutes as well. We'll go ahead and begin our comment time with Mike Lowe. If you go to the microphone, please.
My name is Mike Lowe, and I would like to talk about an experience that I had on Wednesday, April 15th, City Building at 4:40. I was sitting on the wall with a clipboard to gather signatures for a petition. A man approached me and said, "Deanne would like for me to leave." I said, "No, this is a public place." He said, "They're having a candidate event tonight." I said, "I know that, and other people have had other events here also." He stated again, she wanted me to leave. I stated, I can move to the sidewalk. He still insisted that the sidewalk is near the building. I was not blocking entrance, and only a few people had went in. I told him there are no signs posted, and I saw a lot of other people across the street at the State Theater, so I just decided to go over there. So I left. Amy Acton, candidate for governor, was having an event. I got a lot more signatures with no hassle. On Thursday, I went to the city building to the law department to find out if there was any restriction. The law department said there was none and it would have been okay. Washington, D.C. may try to silence people, and Leanne Lawrence, director of the Clark County Leadership Academy, is not going to silence me. She has no authority of the city building, and that is why we have a city manager, a mayor, and commissioner. I felt my rights were being violated, and I felt harassed. Leanne Lawrence thinks she can intimidate me. However, I'm not one to be silent. My hat that I'm wearing tonight says free speech, Jimmy Kimmel. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Daniels.
Hi there, Diana Daniels. A couple of just comments I'd like to make about natural resources. Leanne gave a brilliant presentation on how valuable natural resources are, which is kind of, I don't know, funny when we think back to last week or last commission meeting when we were told that Springfield City Water, Springfield Clark County Water is for sale. That happens to be a natural resource. What I'd like to bring to mind today is how prophetic that statement actually was, because I didn't have the information that I have before me today. It came to my attention that in March of 2026, 53 data centers, CMH 01 Holdings, purchased 113 acres just next to the Nexus Lexus, or former Nexus Lexus property, for $8 million. The original outlay that this company put forth for 67,868 square feet in May of 2024 was $50 per square foot. This particular purchase now is for $71,000 per acre. The seller, which I couldn't find out until I did a lot of deep diving, happened to be the Community Improvement Corporation of Springfield, Clark County. Our land is for sale, obviously. What's going to come out of this, and I wonder what Melody Park has to say, with a 200 megawatt initial power outlay for 214,000 square feet, up from the 67,000, with a 15-year, 100% enterprise zone tax abatement worth $95 million. Sometimes you have to dig a little deep to find the data that's necessary to power your decisions. Whether or not you are for or against data farms, or solar for that matter, is completely up to you, but you're leaving us out of the loop. It was stated in the information that I was able to receive that there's going to be about 120, give or take, jobs when it's all said and done for about $14 million. And that's a plus. But I'd like to ask the citizens that are buying houses out at Melody Park how they feel about all of that. Thank you.
You can hang out there for a second.
Of course.
Tom, if you may want to come up and speak on this. We don't have any new project, I think, that you're alluding to that has been before us. Is that accurate, Mr. Heck or Tom? Just a second, Diane, if you step to the side there, please.
Yes, that's accurate. There's no proposed project.
So there's not been any new project TIF
No,
or
and
something on the property that she's
If the
speaking
company were to
about?
come back and want to expand, that would come back before the commission. It would go through the approval process any other project would in the community.
And at that time, that's when we could share our vote on how we feel about the expansion of data centers.
Exactly.
So there's nothing happening right now on that
Correct.
property that I guess has been sold. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay.
Yep.
And the property owner can sell that property for whatever they can get, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Melissa Rexroth?
Melissa Rexroth. Brian, in 2019, your salary was $145,000. And
You could address me, Ms. Rexroth, only. Thank
actually,
you.
freedom of speech, I am allowed to address any of you
Just
up there.
how we run the meetings, Ms. Rexroth, just
That is
address the mayor
violating
to
my
the
freedom of
commission.
speech. Brian, your 2019 salary is $145,000. 2025, it is $229,595.22. For Springfield is roughly just 60,000 people. So in 6 years, you have a salary increase of $84,535.22. Springfield's median income for a family, for a household, is $46,000. Most of your constituents make $46,000. The national median is $79,000. Why, who makes these raises? What process does this go through? Who approves the raises? I'd like to know how do you think that this is appropriate? The surveys that the city has done have shown that there is high dissatisfaction in Springfield. Yet you keep getting awards, you're directing the narrative, what's being shown and said to everyone. The real community is not able to have a voice. You shut us all down. So people are giving awards not knowing the truth of what is happening, the dissatisfaction in Springfield. Brian, you received, it's February 2025, Profile and Courage Award for maintaining transparency and working to unite the community. Again, all the surveys show that there's division in Springfield. And transparency? What transparency? We all know there isn't any. 2026, our fire department got Fire Department of the Year award. Engine 6 has been consistently out of order. Apparently, you were notified in August of 2025 that you were going to be short-staffed. But we're getting staff in April. So the city of Springfield is supposed to be okay with waiting this long. I'm thankful that they're all here showing support and standing up to the truth. I used to be an ER nurse, so I worked closely with them and I depended highly on them. Springfield Regional, they operate much the same. They want to run short on staffing. I tried to bring a specific concern about ICU not being monitored appropriately. And I went to my manager, they refused to add more monitors. Do you know what? When I went back to ICU, they had monitors for more patients. Do you know why? A patient died. The city of Springfield seems to be reactive, not proactive. You guys need to get your priorities together.
Thank you. Darlene Yealy? Could you lower your microphone, Miss Yealy, please? Thank you.
Better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The subject's panhandling. There was an article on a website from the Springfield, Ohio Crime Watch. Somebody sent it to me. It says, finally, a trooper doing what the city and sheriff's department failed to do, removing a homeless con man from the corner on Bechtel Avenue. I saw this trooper warn him last week. This week, he put him in cuffs. Thank you for making a dangerous intersection a little safer. The last time I spoke on this, I gave, Ohio laws that says that we can't stop panhandling, but we can stop where it's at. So I was just wondering where we stand now on this situation.
We have a draft that we're working on right now to regulate pedestrian traffic, not panhandling, but the location of traffic in roadways and in the median.
That means they can't stand there and beg for money and things, or?
We can't regulate the message, but we can regulate where the location is.
I know, that's what I told you guys. So is it going to stop the panhandling in these areas where there's high traffic and it's dangerous? It's being taken care of?
We're working on legislation right now.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Just so you know, not just a minute, Ms. Healy. You just you kind of painted a broad brush over every individual out there as a criminal, and there's, you said that. Okay. Or you said that they were scamming? That's criminal. I understand. I just want you to know, some of those people do want homes, and, I understand not everybody is in the same situation.
I'm talking about the danger of where they are.
I agree- we
I'm
couldn't
not
agree
talking
with that
about
more.
who they are or
Okay.
why they're there. I'm talking about the dangerous situation of them being there, entering in on the street to driver's sides of the cars and getting things.
Great.
So you can't regulate that they panhandle, but the city can stop where they do it.
And that's
You
what we're
can
working on.
regulate that.
Yes.
And I did not say, I read this thing.
said scamming,
I did
that's
not
right.
say I said that.
Gary Armstrong?
I couldn't believe, or I couldn't agree with you more, Melissa. Everything you said was right on the money, totally on the money. And if these people that sold that data center is positive, it's going to be stuck up all our where on high cost. It's for the rich, by the rich, just like we're seeing in the federal government. And you shouldn't be stuffing it down our throats as our local government. You need to stop it and not be part of it. But when I asked you last week about city manager, that was a bullshit answer you gave me, Rob. I know how we got it. What I meant is it is bought and paid for by the mayor, and the city manager is already chosen by the people that probably own those two buildings there, and that building and these other buildings that sit around. Wealthy Springfielders control us, and they don't care about what me and these poorer people have to deal with high bills. My gas bill for 2.5 months was $800. I've never had that. This is all because of what's going on in the federal government, but it's being passed down because we have people at our local level that think they can stand there and tell me a lie. And when I say that, you don't have any integrity. Well, if you lie, you have no integrity. And I got two answers that didn't have integrity about the 6 unit and the price of raises. Because when you go from 15,000 to 79 and in 3 years get 147, that's not 2%. There's only one person. I'm not going to put her on the spot because I barely know Tracy. There's only 2 people that asked why I was here because the O'Neill dude built a 4-unit illegally. Her and Crystal. They were the only 2 that cared about me as a citizen. The 3 that were together to follow what the chamber and the other units that are backing you, they're about letting the properties go for dirt prices to people that want to invest and buy blocks of property and put them in investment packages. And they put these people that are local poor people, kind of like me, except I make 35 on pension and soch. But a lot of people are making $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 or $600, $700, $800 a month. You can't live on that. They can't buy houses. They can't rent houses. You aren't solving problems for anybody. You don't represent us, the people. You represent the rich, just like the man in the White House is doing now. He represents the trillionaires, and us, we getting our ass kicked big time in every way. And my God, you made me cry because I looked at 333. My dad and my uncle retired in the 70s as firefighters, and I caught their beer bottles as they built your Bird Road house there, that whatever they call that party house. You know what?
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you.
Cindy Barton.
I'm going to follow up with Melissa and Gary. All we're seeing is spending, spending, spending. You do not even solve one problem before you move on to another. One problem at a time needs to be solved. That needs to get our driving under control as we see our new visitors are having heydays with our streets. And like Mr. Armstrong quoted, when you go and speak to the press and you go to Columbus, you do not represent us as Springfield because we did not vote for this at all. We have explained to all of you over and over again. We have told you, we have shown you what this city needs. You don't listen to us. You all go on your own little way to put your little pockets filled. Tired of it. All of America's tired of it. You're elected in there to speak for the people, the majority of the people, not the least of the people. Start doing it. As for these firefighters, thank you. You all put your lives on the line every day. And because of bad spending, your lives are at risk for all this. I know because I've been through a tragedy myself. And I know if them firefighters wouldn't have been there, it would have been worse. And your all's courage deserves more money and more protection and better equipment.
Yvonne Hendricks.
All right. My name is Devin Hendricks. I'm a business owner. I own my own publishing company, libraries at the library, books at the library. I work with Oscar winners like Stephen Bognar or Daniel DeBecke. I work with the kids day in and day out. I was just literally speaking to the juvenile last week, and I wake up to drug trafficking charge. All right. So, yes, my brother used my name, right? Used my name, but the officer still charged him because he didn't know my birth date or my social security number. So luckily, the guy that I am, a sheriff deputy called me in, like, they called me while it was going down, like, are you locked up? Like, nah, I'm not locked up. But they got your brother down here, I'll fix it. So boom, the sheriff department go to fix it real quick, you know. I still had court for drug trafficking charges. My name was plastered all over the world for everybody to see me as a drug trafficker with my face plastered all over. Now, I ain't worked this hard to get to this point, you know what I'm saying? And just like every black person ain't no thug, just like every white person ain't racist, every cop ain't bad, you get what I'm saying? So, but the cops that arrested my brother did not do the right things. They didn't check for no fingerprints. They didn't, mind you, they charged him with failure to give information. So they knew he was lying. You know, they still sent him upstairs and my face is plastered all over. MAGA had a field day, of course. You know, they had a field day with me. You know, I was out knocking, getting signatures for a candidate, and I had somebody say this to me, like, aren't you the guy the drug dealer? Like, you know, and there's jokes about it too. Like, this shit ain't funny to me. You know what I mean? Not one bit. You see her, like, you see them laughing over there? Like, it's not funny to me. But I don't care. I'll go with the punches. Like, I'm built for this. But somebody got to talk. You know what I mean? Like, somebody needs to speak up for this shit. Like, I need answers. And then the Warnock guy, he's a police officer. He was so fucking rude to me. You get what I'm saying? And I don't need it. I'm pissed off. I don't care. I'm pissed off, and I need answers. And you can shut up.
Hey.
Period.
Please, Devin.
Shit.
Please, no comments from there.
I need.
It's freedom.
But
of speech.
like, it's the people. Like, it's the Cindy Porters. It's the Thomas Lays that's threatening to kill me and stuff like that. That's calling me niggers, calling me drug dealers. They're happy about this shit. You get what I'm saying? So I definitely need answers for sure. Thank you.
We're going to try to connect the chief with Devin. And ma'am, please don't make comments from your seat. Freedom of speech, people can say what they want. I understand that, but you'll have people that will, yeah. So that wasn't the first one today either. Okay, Mr. Scott Wolf.
Good evening, Mayor Rue, commissioners, staff, citizens. I am Scott Wolf, the president of Springfield Professional Firefighters, Local 333. I am here tonight to speak on a matter of public safety. That is what's happening when there are not enough firefighters on duty and stations are closed. That's what's taking place in Springfield right now. That was just 15 seconds of silence. Now add several minutes to that silence. Picture that silence after you call 911 because your house is on fire or a loved one is not breathing. It's not just a delay, it's a complete breakdown in emergency response. No immediate help when it's needed most. Those extra minutes aren't just time, they're the difference between control and catastrophe, the difference between giving firefighters a chance and tying their hands. Every minute becomes critical, and in those moments, lives are left unprotected. This is about whether the residents of Springfield receive the adequate emergency response they expect when they call 911. We are currently operating with fewer firefighters than what is required to meet the demands of this city. Fewer firefighters on duty means fewer units available, fewer resources on scene, and a greater risk to the public and to our firefighters. You cannot meet increasing call volumes with decreasing resources. And you cannot expect the same level of service when there are not enough firefighters on duty to deliver it. The safety of the public and the safety of Springfield's firefighters remain our number one priority. In a directive issued April 8th, the Springfield Fire Rescue Division implemented staffing adjustments, putting units out of service and shifting personnel to fill holes that would otherwise have been filled by a member working mandatory overtime. Putting a unit out of service means a fire truck, or an ambulance that may be the closest to your emergency is not coming. This is not sustainable. This is not safe, and this is not acceptable for the citizens who rely on us every single day. The Springfield Fire Rescue Division is drastically understaffed. National industry proven standards and best practices dictate that fire trucks should respond with a minimum of 4 certified firefighters. We staff 3 firefighters on a fire truck. The city knows that staffing has been deficient for years. The city and the Fire Rescue Division have commissioned multiple studies that provide recommendations for appropriate staffing levels, station locations, and placement of fire apparatus. The city's hired experts recommended between 140 and 155. Those recommendations are data-driven, evidence-based, but have been consistently ignored. There are 2 ways to solve this problem: overtime and hiring more firefighters. Overtime being the less preferable. To their credit, though, the city has hired additional firefighters in recent months, but those gains are quickly erased by retirements and resignations that continue to drive staffing back down. The current approach isn't keeping pace, it's falling behind, and it's simply not enough. I know we are talking about hiring more firefighters, but public safety is measured in seconds, in adequate staffing levels, and in whether help is there when it's needed most. When that help fails, it's the citizens of this community who pay the price. Firefighters are asking for one thing: having enough firefighters and resources to meet the needs of this city and protect its community. Are we going to be comfortable with the public safety issue being another national news story? Thank you.
Thank you. You can stay there. Thank you. Thank you to the membership also that has come to air their concerns and show their support. This is an internal operations matter, and I'd like our city manager and our chief to speak publicly to this. Each one of the commissioners, since you've sent your email to all of us, and I did respond back to you saying this very same thing I just said, that's an internal operation matter, and we trust the city manager and the chief to make decisions, but we do ask questions. We want information, and we want to be informed. So I'd like to go ahead and ask Brian to lead this discussion.
Yeah. First, I just want to recognize the concerns that's raised by our union members here tonight regarding staffing, forced overtime, and the periodic closures of Fire Station 6 on South Charleston Pike. I also want to just extend appreciation for the relationship that I've had with the union, both past presidents and Scott and other members of the executive committee, and that we're able to meet regularly and have difficult and candid conversations, even when we don't always agree with each other. So I do appreciate that and value that in our relationship. The operational and management decisions in this position are never easy, but they are always made through a deliberate and thoughtful process. Forced or mandatory overtime has been an ongoing issue since the fall of 2025. It stems from a reduction in overall staffing due to retirements, participation in the voluntary separation program, and some members not meeting the paramedic requirement within the required time frame. While some of these departures were anticipated, others were not. Though we have taken some steps to address these staffing shortages through our hiring process, bringing on 10 new recruits in January, I recognize that delays in that process created unintended consequences, particularly in increased forced overtime. In hindsight, I wish we would have begun that process sooner. As we closed out 2025, Fire Chief King and I worked together to identify ways to reduce burden of forced overtime on our members, and the chief implemented several operational adjustments that appeared to ease those pressures. As we entered 2026, however, we faced an additional challenge. At times, up to 19 firefighters, or approximately 15% of our workforce, have been unavailable for duty due to protected family medical leave, modified duty status for injury or illness, and military deployment. At the same time, as I mentioned, our 10 recruits remain in the academy and will not graduate until April 30th. So combined, this has meant roughly 22% of our fire workforce has been unavailable to staff shifts. This has led to another surge in forced overtime during the first quarter of 2026, raising concerns not only among some of our firefighters, but also among their families, who are directly impacted by these demands. In response, Chief King and I again evaluated options to stabilize operations until we can get staffing levels to improve with the return of personnel and the graduation of our recruits. As a result, we made the decision to temporarily suspend forced overtime with a focus on protecting the mental health and well-being of our firefighters. To be clear, though, overtime has not been eliminated. We have simply paused mandatory assignments. Voluntary overtime remains available, and I do want to acknowledge the many members and thank those who have continued to step up and fill those shifts. We understood this decision would require operational trade-offs. One such adjustment has been the temporary closure of Station 6 when minimum daily staffing levels fall from 29 to 27 on tour. This is not a decision that we take lightly, as it does carry its own risks. However, we must balance those risks with the well-being of our personnel and their families. Looking ahead, as our new recruits graduate and join the ranks, we do plan to reinstate forced overtime beginning May 4th. This will allow us to maintain staffing levels without the need for temporary closures of Station 6. More broadly, I remain committed, as I have since becoming city manager, to ensuring our public safety agencies are adequately staffed. In 2023, we increased our authorized fire strength from the charter minimum of 127 to 130, which did allow us to uncombo, which is establishing separate medic and engine truck crews at all but one station. Additionally, our voter-approved lateral entry program will help us fill vacancies more quickly, particularly when there are fewer than 5 openings, which is the minimum number needed to hold a fire training academy. I have also directed staff to evaluate the balance between increasing staffing levels and managing overall overtime costs within the fire rescue division. With that said, I would ask that Chief King provide further insight into the matter and share what we are seeing from an operational standpoint as we continue to monitor the impact of these decisions.
Thank you, City Manager, Commissioners, Mayor, President Wolf. I just want to speak plainly tonight about this temporary staffing stabilization measures that we have implemented within the Springfield Fire Rescue Division. First and foremost, I want the commission, this community, our members and their families to know that I take the health, wellness, and long-term sustainability of our members and their families very seriously and close to my heart. That concern is not separate, though, from our mission of helping others and serving. It's clearly part of our mission. Because if we expect our firefighters and paramedics to continue serving this community at the level our citizens deserve, then we also have a responsibility to recognize when the demands placed upon the men and women of Springfield Fire and Rescue are no longer sustainable. Our mission has not changed. Our responsibilities remains to respond to the needs of this community efficiently, effectively, and safely. That means protecting the citizens of Springfield, but also means protecting the men and women who are sworn to serve them. The members of the Springfield Fire Rescue Division are among the most dedicated professionals I have ever had the privilege to work alongside. Day after day, they continue to put this community first. Even here tonight, so many have come that they are going one out so that a community member could come in and standing outside, serving yet even during this meeting. They have endured high call volumes, repeated forced overtimes, physical fatigue, emotional strain, and very real impact of those demands that have on their health and their family. And yet they continue to answer the call every single time because they know how much this community depends on them. That kind of dedication should never be taken for granted. And it should never come with inaction. The reality is that we're operating under significant staffing pressures, which we've discussed. Those conditions have led to this substantial increase in this mandatory overtime. I believe leadership has a responsibility to act when those demands begin to create cumulative risk to readiness, decision-making, recovery, and family stability. This action was not taken lightly. It was taken because responsible leadership means addressing a problem before it becomes a larger one. Reducing the first 3 forced overtime positions is a temporary measure designed to relieve pressure on our members while still preserving emergency response coverage across the city through resource redeployment and system management. We are also closely monitoring every day that Station 6 staffing has been impacted, monitoring response times, number of calls, and is there a major effect that is occurring. And also the effects of the adjustments that we have made to the overall response system. We are doing that to ensure that operational concerns, coverage issues, and service impacts are identified, evaluated, and get addressed in real time. This is not something that we just set in motion and walked away from. It has been watched very closely. I also want to be clear. This is not a retreat from our requirement for public safety or the demand for the public safety that is needed for this city. It is an effort that we're putting in forth to preserve it. A workforce that is overextended for too long is not a stronger workforce. A system that ignores fatigue, cumulative stress is not a safer system. If we are serious about protecting this community, then we must also be serious about protecting our firefighters and paramedics who serve it. The division and the union ultimately want the same outcome: healthy members, safe operations, and a reliable service to our community. We may not fully agree on the method, clearly, and I respect that. But there should be no misunderstanding about our goal. Our responsibility is to make operational decisions we believe are necessary to protect this workforce, this community, and their families over the long term. The men and women of Springfield Fire and Rescue Division have shown extraordinary commitment to this city. My responsibility is to match that commitment with the leadership that is honest, proactive, and willing to act when the conditions demand it. This decision is about protecting the long-term strength of our workforce and the stability of our system and the service that this community depends on every minute of every day. Thank you.
Before we continue, and because the matter of safe citizens, people feeling safe at home, answering the 911 call, would you just highlight what our run times are currently and how they've been affected and what other area city run times are for people that don't understand?
Yep. So our average response time for the city prior to enacting this was 6 minutes and 18 seconds from the time you 911 call was answered till somebody arrived at your door. Since this has occurred, our average response time is 6 minutes and 21 seconds across the city, from the time you call to the time somebody arrived.
And then the days where the Station 6 has been browned out, has there been increased time for
Yes.
those calls?
There has been a few. The longest has been from a 6 minutes and 21 second response time to just over 8 minutes and 4 seconds. But majority of those have fallen below that, so closer to the 6 minutes and 27 second response time.
What I'm asking you is not to prove anybody right or wrong, but it's important to know that the citizens are still safe, that the men and women of this fire department are still answering the call, working very hard. And I just think that needs to be said. Can you speak to other runtime calls in other municipalities, other cities?
So we look at several other cities, their response times are in the 9 to 15 minute response time standards based on the geographical nature of their city and where their fire stations are. One of the things that's a huge benefit for us was the realignment of the 3 new stations that allowed us then to continue to maintain a lower response time for our city, below the national average.
Okay. I do not expect us to get anything worked out tonight, but I wanted as much to be shared publicly as possible from the manager and the chief, from you. Do you have other comments to say for your membership?
So I would just like to remind, we've spoken to the charter strength of 127. We have members in the audience today that fought for that. And then we were taking between 6,000 and 8,000 runs. We're still under essentially the same staffing model with only adding 3 people, but we're almost doing 18 to 20,000 runs a year.
Okay. And so we're spending quite a bit in overtime. The city is. Citizens are paying for that, right?
Yes.
So is there a way to hire additional staff members if that's adjusted down?
Again, that's what I've asked both the fire chief, the finance director, and other staff to look at and analyze our current overtime versus adding additional staff, what that would look like, how that would impact the operations of the fire rescue division. Certainly, again, there's one station that is still comboed as well, so looking at that and how that factors into that equation, because I know we would all like to get to the point where that station is uncomboed as well. And so it's looking at all those factors.
You said
and
combo.
variables.
Their citizens have no idea what
Yeah,
combo
so
means.
combo versus uncombo. Uncomboed station has a separate medic crew as well as a separate engine and or truck crew, whereas a comboed station has 3 members that are either taking the medic call or they're taking the engine call.
So if I'm a firefighter, do I want to be in a combo station?
You want to be in an uncomboed station,
Okay.
correct?
I mean, I'm not a firefighter, so I'm going
Yeah.
to ask these questions. So-
We want to get, and that was something in 2023 we were able to accomplish by going from 127 to 130, allowed us to get to the point where we could uncombo, again, all but one of those stations. Station 6 is the comboed station, which is why that is the one that gets put out of service when we fall below, get to that 27 number as opposed to the 29 on daily minimum staffing, because that is the comboed station. And so we want to keep those uncomboed units out there, which again are operating with a separate engine or truck crew or separate medic crew. Again, so that is something, again, I've asked the chief and his team as well as the finance director to look into that as far as the overtime and then increase staffing levels and how those things play together.
And so just for organizational understanding, so if you came and said that we're going to hire 5 more firefighters, is that something that's a decision you and the chief make? And then you just inform us, is that correct?
We would make a recommendation to you because that does have budget implications.
would
So
vote
right
on that.
now, we are authorized strength at 130. And if so, in the 26 budget, if we were to change that, it would require additional supplemental appropriations to change that. Or as we look at the 2027 budget process, we would present a recommendation as we're preparing that budget to be adopted by the commission. So those are budgetary decisions that ultimately are made by the commission in terms of
I
the
get that.
disbursement of our resources.
Commissioner Rigsby, I think you told me you have a comment.
There's no surprise there. President Wolf, brothers, sisters, citizens, having sat in the seat that many of these men and women have sat in and taken the runs, had multiple shifts of forced overtime, I can tell you its detrimental effect on the citizens and the membership and the individual. Nobody wants to be mandated for overtime. It's just never a good thing. What we also don't want is station closures. We've been through it in the city before. We had this sort of back and forth, mandatory overtime versus station closures, and we'd accepted at that time, many years ago, that mandatory overtime was a necessary evil for us. Now, through the years, I've led the union. I've served the union. I've been a Springfield professional firefighter and a Springfield firefighter paramedic. And I can tell you that without a doubt, we're one of the busiest fire departments in the state. I've looked at the numbers. I've compared our numbers to other departments. I've performed many studies using the data from the fire division and data from around the state. And I can tell you our firefighters take more calls per shift than just about anywhere else. Just like we talked about earlier with the park system, we do more with less every single day. And it's only because the men and women here make it happen. They step up. They take the forced overtime. I can't begin to describe to the citizens what it's like. You're finishing up your 24-hour shift. About 6 in the morning, phone starts ringing, and it's your favorite person in the world, the battalion chief. And he's saying, guess what? You got to work another 12 hours here. Or maybe you get to go home, and then you've got to work another 12 hours. That's a soul killer. It's difficult doing it day in and day out. Now, our city manager said this is as a result of, situation, a confluence of events that we really, frankly, just don't see often. Having that many members away on FMLA or injury or military or whatever the case may be is unusual in this number. But I firmly believe that if we would bring our staffing levels up, it would take a lot of this burden off. And I leave that with our city manager and our finance director to present to us a plan to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you. The commissioners, Commissioner Tackett.
I want to start by acknowledging the concerns I'm hearing from our community. People care deeply about safety, response times, and the well-being of our firefighters, and those concerns, they matter. I also want to recognize the firefighters themselves who are working under real strain right now. I thank you. I trust our fire chief to make the best operational decisions possible, and I support our city manager in continuing to find ways to strengthen and support our fire department. I appreciate the union for being an engaged voice in this process. Working together is how we will get to real solutions. We're all here because we care about this city. Let's spotlight concerns, listen to each other, and move towards solutions that strengthen our department and the community. Thank you.
Do the commissioners have any comments?
I have a question for the chief. With the lateral hiring vote that was taken, and now we're allowed to do that, even with that, how long would it take? We decided to hire another couple of firefighters. How long would it actually take to get them on board?
Be very rapid, actually. So we would be delayed based on their physical and polygraph and PT test. And then we would do an indoctrination of just a few weeks and then back on, right onto the truck. So we could see it within day one to in the department would be approximately 2 weeks. And then out on shift, impacting in 3, so 5 weeks versus several months.
And we had would already that lateral, the vote for the lateral hiring that would have taken much longer.
Correct. So, and we'd be getting firefighter level 2 professional and paramedic already. And so in the end of that 5 weeks, they're fully ready to operate, where when we hire them with no credentials, then we're looking at 3.5 years to get them fully certified to operate as a fire medic. So 5 weeks, 3.5 years.
Okay, thank you. Yes. And thank all of you, all the firefighters and paramedics, all of you. You do a great job, and we're very proud of you.
I would also like to thank you guys too. I know I always hear the sirens time after time. I live right by, I believe it's Station 7. I live right by there, so I see the runs, I see the hard work, trying to keep trucks maintenance, trying to keep them up and running in case something happens, and being out there and being responsive. I do have a question. We talked Monday, and I'm trying to get a grasp on this, and so forced overtime. We're not doing that, but there is still overtime.
Yes,
People can-
overtime is still available on a voluntary
On a
basis.
volunteering basis.
Which means they can select the slots that they fill, and several of our members have done just that and
So-
continue to do that.
So my
And
question is, when it comes time to say, hey, we have to do a brownout, can people volunteer, like can firemen and EMS people volunteer for that and keep it open?
Yes, and we've seen that happen where maybe the engine out at Station 6 was going to be out of service, and we've had a member step up and volunteer for an overtime slot to keep that engine in service. So yes, that can happen and has happened. And again, commend the members that have continued to volunteer for a lot of those slots to keep the operations staff.
Is there a difference between the forced overtime and the volunteer overtime? Like, when you force it, it's automatic?
Force, you're staying.
Right, but I'm
just
saying-
like Commissioner Rigsby described, you get
Absolutely.
that call at 6 a.m. when you're ending shift and say, actually, you're going to stay on for another 12 hours or come back in 12 hours.
And so
where
with
you,
the volunteer overtime, people are like,
you have to
I'm
select and decide.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I want to thank you all for being here and showing your support for the cause. That's very important. We're going to go ahead and ask to conclude the comments of this period, and then we're going to take about a 5-minute break. I know not all of you will be staying for the meeting, and we do appreciate you being here. Is there a motion to conclude this informal comment period?
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
are you?
Okay, the formal meeting for City Commission is called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Here.
Mr. Rigsby?
Mr. Rigsby? Here.
Mrs. Tackett?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge. We got it. We're just thankful for the folks that serve our city in all capacities. I ask that you would give us peace in this city, that you give us wisdom to make decisions in your name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve minutes?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Go ahead and proceed with first readings by title only.
Authorizing the city manager to submit the 2026 action plan of the city of Springfield, Ohio to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Authorizing the city manager, law director, community development director, and finance director to do all things they deem necessary to implement, operate, and administer the city's community development block grant program, emergency solutions grant program, and home program for the 2026 fiscal year. Authorizing a contribution to the Springfield Promise Neighborhood in the amount of $1,000 to support the Southside in Bloom Garden Tour 2026. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a small urban services agreement with NeoRide for additional staff and support assistance for an amount not to exceed $121,968. Authorizing the issuance of a purchase order for monthly access fees for Marks Radio Communication System equipment from the Ohio Department of Administrative Services, Office of Information Technology, for an amount not to exceed $32,100 for the period of July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with OMAC Hauling Incorporated, doing business as Board and Secure LLC, for board and secure services as needed by the city for an amount not to exceed $70,000 for 1 year, with the option to renew for one additional 1 year period. Authorizing the city manager to enter into Amendment Number 1 to the 2024-2025 CDBG Public Services Program Subrecipient Agreement with Nehemiah Foundation to reallocate funding among line items and confirming and approving related expenditures incurred from March 1, 2026. Authorizing the city manager to enter into Amendment Number 1 to the American Rescue Plan Act funded subrecipient grant agreement with Clark County Land Reutilization Corporation to remove the conventional loan requirement and to extend the period of performance.
I'd like the city manager to go ahead and speak to some of the first readings.
Yes, Commission, and actually a couple of them I'd like to have staff further elaborate on. First, 106-26, which is authorizing our agreement with NeoRide for additional staff and support assistance. I'd like Jason Via to speak to that.
Good evening. So if you aren't aware, NeoRide is a council of governments that assists transportation agencies that are located in Northern Ohio. And they are currently contracted through ODOT to provide us small urban transit coordinator assistance. So we are already working with NeoRide and at the expense of ODOT, so that is free to us. This specific agreement is going to expand upon those services to provide additional assistance and planning hours. And the timing of this is in advance of an expected award of an additional $1.3 million. Of that $1.3 million, approximately $300,000 is match money. So many of these grant opportunities, it requires that the city provide a percentage of match money in order to receive the grants. So this additional funding through ODOT is going to satisfy the match piece of this as well, essentially costing us $0. So we are before you right now for a first hearing on the contract with NeoRide, knowing that the additional award from ODOT is going to take into May. So we wanted to get this to you ahead of time so that we'll be prepared when we receive that award from ODOT. And I just also want to point out here, there are safeguards built into this contract. So the contract with NeoRide is subject to the financing funds through ODOT. So we are not required to expend any city dollars if we do not receive this funding through ODOT. The additional services are going to be in conjunction with, from our work session a couple weeks ago, our anticipated stakeholder team that's going to work with DCC to establish potential pilot opportunities to scale and expand field trips.
And then also Commission 271-24, which is amending the American Rescue Plan subrecipient grant agreement with the Clark County Land Reutilization Corp., better known as the Land Bank. Ask if Logan Cobbs, our Community Development Director, can explain what's happening with this amendment.
Mayor Rue, Commissioners, Logan Cobbs. So this is making two minor modifications to the agreement as it currently stands. The first one is removing the conventional loan requirement that's in our current agreement with the land bank. This has provided them with some issues when working with buyers. Really need a little bit more flexibility to use a fixed rate loan, an adjustable loan, FHA, a VA loan. So this would allow for some additional flexibility there. Additionally, our agreement states that all homes must be built within 3 years. They've requested within 2 years. They've asked for a 1-year extension, so all 8 homes would be built within 3 years. With the $1 million, they anticipate being able to build 5 of those, and they would use the proceeds from those to build the remaining homes.
And then I was just going to touch on 107-26, which is the purchase order for monthly access fee for Marks Radio. Just further explanation of this is we made the decision several years ago now to switch over to the state's Marks radio system to power our 800 megahertz radios that our first responders, service department, and other employees utilize to be able to communicate. And going to the statewide system has created increased interoperability not only amongst our divisions and departments, but also amongst other agencies as well, which, as we know, being able to communicate with other law enforcement, other fire rescue divisions can certainly help and pay dividends. And so I appreciate the state because they continue to subsidize those monthly access fees down compared to what they could be or what they would charge. They do subsidize those down for the community. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Comments from commissioners on first readings? Are there any comments from the audience on first readings only? Mr. Lowe?
10626. Is that the same thing that NeoRide, because I'm not familiar with it, same thing as Field Trip, or is it totally separate?
Totally separate in the sense that this is a service for staff support from NeoRide, which is Northeast Ohio Rideshare, I think is what the acronym is. but they provide support for our public transportation, which Field Trips is our public transportation or transit system.
So what's the total amount that's been spent for that program?
This is a grant we're hearing though, right? This is a
Yeah, this is a grant for the Neo Ride.
Just want to make sure this is money we're receiving to pass along to an agency.
Yeah,
It's a
so
grant.
for this
is
specific
not in our
one,
budget. This is
yeah,
a
we are
grant.
receiving 100% funding between ODOT and FTA for this program, this Neo Ride program.
Thank you.
A question about the 271. Is it the Land Reutilization Corporation that's going to be building homes? Is that?
Yes, the land bank will work with a developer or secure a developer to actually construct the homes. And so we have a subrecipient agreement with them, and then they will procure a contractor to construct or build the actual homes.
Okay, and it says, so you're making an amendment to the ARPA application? Is that what that's?
Yes, it extends our actual subrecipient agreement. So we provided ARPA dollars to the land bank to build or construct these homes. They had an original completion date of July 1, and we're extending that out to September 30th of this year, knowing that all ARPA dollars have to actually be expended by the end of 2026.
Right.
So we gave them the extension, but still kept the September 30 performance period to leave the last quarter to close that out before all ARPA funds have to be expended. And then as Logan stated, the original agreement tied it to only conventional loan financing for the purchase of these homes. And this opens it up to other like VA loans and so forth for the buyer.
Gives people a better opportunity to own these homes, right?
Yes, more flexibility in the financing of purchasing these homes.
Okay. And so it is creating an amendment to the ARPA, like you have to resubmit that amendment? Is that how that works?
It creates an amendment to the subrecipient agreement, the actual, not the ARPA funding. The ARPA funding was designated to construct these houses. We're just amending the subrecipient agreement with the land banks that's
Okay.
going to carry that out.
Do you make amendments to the ARPA application? Do you make amendments?
We actually cannot at this point, so you had to have by the end of 2024, correct?
Correct. December 31st, 2024, all of our ARPA monies had to be obligated. So there is no change to our federal reporting. This is just the change of the completion date.
Prior to that, could you have made any amendments?
Before December 31st, 2024, yes.
Okay, because I had asked for the original ARPA application from you guys, and I was told that I could not be given that. I would
So-
like the original application.
So to clarify, we did not apply for American Rescue Plan Act dollars. That was an act of Congress that passed those monies through, again, the American Rescue Plan Act. And they were formula based. It's the state, local, federal recovery fund.
Right.
Funding is specifically what we receive, but there is no application. The only thing that we had to do to accept those monies was commission had to pass an ordinance accepting those monies from the federal government.
Okay, but you had to send them where you were allotting each of the monies, correct?
No, that is the quarterly reporting that we provide to them when we expend or encumber those dollars.
Oh, you didn't have to give ARPA anything telling them where you're spending any of
They
the
told
ARPA money.
they told us where we could spend the money. Then we picked those areas where the city was going to spend the money that they received. And then we voted to spend those monies based on what the recommendations were. For example, like 3 new firehouses that we built, that we're allowed to build. And there's certain things you could not do with those monies. I'm going to go ahead and move on because this is outside of the first reading. Thank you for asking the question. Okay, we'll continue with second readings.
Accepting the application for annexation of certain territory containing 4.6223 acres, more or less, in Moorfield Township and commonly known as the 2425 Mechanicsburg Road annexation area to the city of Springfield, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 2 to the contract with Tony Smith, doing business as Tony Smith Wrecking and Trucking for the demolition of various parcels throughout the city to decrease the contract in an amount not to exceed $9,000 for a total amount not to exceed $326,200 and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 2.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a plat agreement, subdivision development between the city and Premier Property Sales Limited for the North Point Section 2 development, and authorizing the city manager, law director, and finance director to do all things necessary to implement said plat agreement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Eck, you want to go ahead and remind us what we're voting for here? Remind the
Yes,
public?
so the North Point development is a single-family residential development up off of North Limestone. Probably the best is direct route down Inglewood, dead ends into that North Point plat. The developer has finished out Section 2, which was the last section of this specific development. And so a plat agreement puts in place so that they can record the plat. It also puts assurances in place, bonds on the work to make sure that the work is done correctly, because it is public infrastructure that they're installing that we ultimately will take over and be responsible for into perpetuity. And so it puts those safeguards around the development to make sure everything's installed correctly, and then allows them to record the lots, sell the lots, build the homes.
And we are doing with this developer what we do with every other developer as far as these requirements, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. The comments from the audience? Mr. Exroth, this is your second.
How can you limit the amount of questions that we have about your agenda?
It's based on the policy of our meetings, but go ahead.
I don't think that's.
That's okay,
actually-
but it's our
okay.
policy. Go ahead.
Is this developer getting any tax abatement for this specific one?
There are no TIFs related to this development.
Okay.
However, it does fall in the community reinvestment area, which provides for the tax abatements. So the homeowner that purchases the home would be the one that benefits from that tax abatement for purchasing that new property that falls within that CRA area.
Okay.
Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Declaring it necessary to require the construction or reconstruction of curbs, gutters, and sidewalks at the points identified as section number 1 of streets and select locations of the 2026 curb and gutter program, sidewalk curb and gutter program.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there comments from commissioners? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city's participation in the Ohio Plan Risk Management Incorporated for the period of April 1, 2026 through March 31, 2027, authorizing payment to the Ohio Plan in an amount not to exceed $850,000 in premiums for law enforcement liability, EMS liability, public officials, general liability, automobile, property and inland marine, excess liability, surplus, and equipment breakdown through the premium period, authorizing the city manager, finance director, and law director to do all things and execute all documents they consider necessary to participate in the Ohio Plan and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements, confirming and approving related expenditures incurred from April 1, 2026, and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. You want to go ahead and explain this, please? Ms. Katie?
Certainly, Mayor and Commissioners. So summarizing all of the policies that Ms. Jeffers just read, this essentially is the city's insurance policy that protects our operations, our assets, and our employees overall. Our actual premium increased 2.28% from $739,000 to $756,000. And the primary driver of that increase is an adjustment to our property and equipment values of 3% for inflation, just to ensure that we are adequately covered for replacement cost. The not to exceed amount is higher here at the $850,000. That's to allow for flexibility for potential additions throughout the year, such as equipment or assets that may be approved later. And an example of that is the ladder truck that is on the agenda and the equipment that you authorize for us to purchase throughout the year. We add those to our insurance at the point of purchase. So just including that up to amount. Would also highlight the benefit of our participation in the Ohio plan, which is a pooled insurance plan. Due to that, it allows municipalities across the state of Ohio to share risk, which provides for more stable and predictable pricing and limits our exposure to those commercial markets that we would see if we priced this out commercially versus participating in this plan. The reason that this is an emergency tonight as a confirm and approve is our insurance period is April 1 to March 31st. So as we worked on securing our list of assets and worked with the Ohio plan, the timing of receiving that quote before bringing it to commission required this emergency action. So we did not have a lapse in coverage.
Thank you. Comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to execute a grant contract with the Ohio Department of Transportation, Office of Aviation, to accept an Ohio Airport Improvement Program direct grant for state fiscal year 2026 in an amount up to $593,259 for the rehabilitation of the tie-down apron at the Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport, authorizing an expenditure of up to $31,224 to be used as local matching funds, authorizing the city manager, law director, airport manager, and the director of finance to do all things necessary for the acceptance of the grant and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring an emergency therein.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. So I want to make sure, so we're paying $31,000 for a $593,000 grant match?
Yes, it's a 95.5% grant for a total project of 624. So our portion is that 31,224. And this is to rehabilitate the T-hanger and tie-down aprons that are over 20 years old. And Mr. Airport Director?
Stole all of the thunder there, but no, that's exactly right. It's 95%, 5% match grant through Ohio Department of Transportation. So this is a great program. It allows us to restore an area that's over 20 years old. The issue becomes the asphalt starts to crumble. That creates FOD, gravel on the ground, which gets sucked up into jet engines or thrown from a prop. So it's a safety issue as well. So ODOT really had prioritized the replacement of this for us. So it's good. It supports 25 T-hanger tenants there, as well as a maintenance and repair operation, which works on aircraft, Cirrus aircraft. About 150 a year gets serviced there at the airport. So it's a good economic development piece as well.
Thank you. The comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 3 to the contract between the city and Majors Enterprises Incorporated for the 2025 curb ramps project to decrease the contract in an amount not to exceed $74,563.90 for a total amount not to exceed $253,270.10, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 3 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners?
Yes. How did we save $74,000?
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
the-
complaining.
Yeah, this is a final change order for this project, and so it's a variety of ups and downs. But mostly, we did not need the total quantity of material that was originally bid or spec'd for the project, and that we only pay the contractor for the material actually used. And so this led to a decrease.
Okay, I was just curious as if the cost had gone down on any of the materials or anything.
No, our contracts go by line item, and so they bid specifically to the cost of material at the time of the contract. So this is a material savings because they did not have the quantities that they originally bid on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Comments from the audience? Or call the roll?
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefore and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Katie, you want to highlight a few of those expenditures
Certainly.
for
So,
understanding?
yep, certainly. So just a reminder for commissioners and the audience, a moral obligation occurs anytime that the city receives a good or a service and a purchase order was not in place in the correct fund. Commission must approve anything that's over $100. So some examples that are included on the list that's also available on the city's website are indigent cremations, which the city is responsible for from the prior year, from 2025. So we did not have a PO in place with Jones Kenny Zegman Funeral Home. And some others are just housekeeping items where a PO wasn't increased for, say, gravel or fuel before we received that item. I would also add here quickly that the reason that these continue to be an emergency item on the agenda is because we've already received this good or service, so we are morally obligated, hence moral obligations, to pay this vendor timely.
Other comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Objecting to the renewal of a permit to sell alcoholic beverages held by Mark A. Brown, doing business as Paul's Corner Lounge, also known as Mr. B's, 1128 North Burnett Road, first floor and patio, with the Ohio Department of Commerce, Division of Liquor Control, requesting a hearing at Springfield, Ohio, and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
So this is to request a hearing.
Yeah, so every year, annually, we're able to request hearings for liquor permit holders in the city, and especially if there's issues as it relates to that establishment. And so I would actually, on this one, I know Captain Crans from the police division would like to provide some information about this establishment and why we were asking for this hearing.
Thank you, Captain.
Mayor Rue, commissioners. Before I start on these numbers, let me explain a few things about them. What you're going to hear are the way the calls came into dispatch. So these are entered by dispatcher. The ultimate call may be different than what these calls are. So when you hear disorderly conduct call, it may ultimately be white call when it's complete. We can't measure that with the system that we have. So as I run through these, keep that in mind that these are just the way the calls came in to the dispatch. From January 1, 2025, so about 16 months, this establishment has had 24 noise complaints, 2 OVIs based out of it, 5 shots fired calls, 4 fights, and 12 disorderly conduct calls. Again, remember that those fights may translate to disorderly conduct person. So there are a few others. In some cases, these are exponentially higher than the other businesses that are similar in nature to their.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? From the audience? Or call the roll?
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
We have 4 items added to the agenda. The first one is a resolution appointing Daniel Herlihy to the Springfield Historic Landmarks Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other comments from commissioners? From the audience? Appreciate his continued, his desire to serve on this committee. Or call the roll?
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
The last three are emergency ordinances. Amending ordinance number 25-343 to revise the transfer of monies authorized and declaring an emergency therein.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Kitty, you want to explain this, please? Thank you.
Certainly, Mayor and Commissioners. So the next three items before you tonight, the transfer of monies, the supplemental appropriations, and the purchase of a ladder truck are all tied together, so they should be looked at collectively. The ladder truck, which Chief King can speak more to, is being brought forward as a necessary one-time purchase. Because this was not budgeted, the transfer of monies and supplemental appropriations are required to complete the purchase. So with the transfer of monies, we would be transferring cash from the general fund to the permanent improvement fund, which is where we purchase all of our general government, purpose assets from. And then the supplemental appropriations, which is the next item on the agenda, allows us to put the budget in place within the permanent improvement fund to purchase that ladder truck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Comments from the audience? Or call the roll?
Mrs. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby,
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts.
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes.
Providing for supplemental appropriations within various funds and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from commission, from the audience? Or call the roll?
Mr. Rigsby,
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett,
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase agreement for the purchase of one used 2015 Ferrara Inferno 100-foot mid-mount platform ladder truck from Harmonville Fire Company Number 1 for an amount not to exceed $900,000 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Is that like a Ferrari?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead and explain the purpose.
So,
please.
Commission, I would like to ask Chief King to speak towards this and the importance and why we're making this decision to purchase this ladder truck and how it's going to serve the department and the community.
Right, as we've previously spoken before, looking at the long build times for us to receive new apparatus and the significant cost that we have seen in the inflation specifically on these types of ladder trucks has been unattainable for us as a city. From a 1.3 million ladder truck in 2020 that is now $2.4 million today is just not sustainable for us right now. The other problem we're faced with is we have two older ladder trucks that have seen significant amount of work, as we've talked about how busy we are, and substantial amount of maintenance costs that are exceeding the value of the vehicles at this point. And we've been running a 1998 Suffin platform that was refurbed in 2011, but the ladder is the same, so we're 30 plus years with that. Running that as a frontline apparatus for us is not sustainable, nor would allow us to meet the needs of our community. So by doing research and finding a very nice ladder truck at a very great price for us to be a nice gap filler to fill in as a frontline fire apparatus for us, to buy us time to where we're financially stable and the build time. And this truck will be viable even to be a replacement vehicle or a backup. So when a truck has to go in for service, this can go in its place as a second run apparatus. I would ask, the senior captain of the fire department and the senior most truck captain is actually here to help me evaluate that ladder truck. Captain Davis, do you have any comments about that? Okay. Trying to be inclusive.
I will add, so they've worked, the Fire Rescue Division has worked closely with our Fleet Maintenance Division at Service, who is maintaining these vehicles. And we looked at a previous used ladder truck, and Chief King and our Fleet Maintenance went down and looked at that. It was down in a southern state and, seemed on the surface like a really good truck and a good purchase at the time, and they dug deeper because they have been very thorough in this investigation and protecting the investment that would be made, and determined that there were warranty issues that we weren't going to move forward with. So then they recalibrated and relooked, and I think Captain Davis is the one that found this one initially. And they went, Captain Davis and Chief King and our fleet maintenance division went together to look at this apparatus to make sure that, again, we were buying something that would be sustainable for our community and organization. And I think they found that in this truck.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that we've found a unicorn. I know that those are hard to find these days, but the Harmonyville Fire Department has taken excellent care of this apparatus. It is in a ready state for us, and I think that it's going to do great work for our citizens. And we drove all the way to Philadelphia and back in a day and evaluated this truck just to make sure that we know that this investment is large. We know that it wasn't in our original budget. And so we're also cautious about those taxpayer dollars and trying to make sure that it's a good fit for not only our members, but for our community as well. We are very gracious for you to vote yes on this so that we can have a sustainable, nice, usable ladder truck to better serve our communities. Thank you.
Comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I'd like to just say something. As a former member who served on Truck 8, the greatest ladder truck that ever graced the streets of Springfield, and worked for some of the best captains on the Springfield Fire Rescue Division, I have to say that this is long overdue. Having driven Truck 8, the truck that we're talking about that's being replaced, and operated that truck, in its day, it was perfection. Now, it's a little past its prime. And as much as I hate to say that, it's time. This is a good opportunity. This gives us a ladder truck to put in the service of our citizens. The time to order a ladder truck is not when somebody's hanging out of a third-story building. It's now. So getting this ladder truck in will go a long way towards promoting the safety of our members and our citizens. I'm really happy. The fact that this also received a seal of approval of Captain Davis is a high honor indeed. Thank you.
I have a question. How does this affect our budget now from this point?
Certainly, Commissioner Wallace. So we are using one-time revenue from the sale of properties as part of that transfer of monies to support this purchase, because certainly, as Commission has heard me say, and as the audience and public has heard me say, looking at our income tax revenues and the decline that we are seeing due to changes outside of what we can control at the state level, we want to be careful to not use our ongoing revenues for something that would be an ongoing cost, right? So this is a one-time purchase for this asset, so we are utilizing those one-time revenues to support that purchase.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So after it's delivered, how long will it take to go into service?
Approximately 3 weeks, depending on how our equipment comes in for mounting of the tools and getting it striped and lettered. That'll be our longest delay. But it's scheduled for pickup on Thursday. Not this Thursday, but the following, a week from Thursday, is pending your vote.
This will be housed at the fire station area.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you. There are announcements from commissioners.
I have some. The Clark County Blue Envelope Drive-Through event is this Saturday, and if you're not familiar with it, the Blue Envelope program works to help individuals with a disability communicate with law enforcement officers during a traffic stop. You'll be able to collect your kit and have the opportunity to pull through and learn how to use it. You'll also be able to take the opportunity to see emergency response vehicles up close. Again, that is this Saturday at the Clark County Fairgrounds, 10 to 2, rain or shine. And just announcing that the theme this upcoming First Friday is Cinco de Mayo. So thank you to Viva La Fiesta for hosting that and all of the downtown businesses coming together to provide a good entertaining evening in downtown Springfield on first Friday of May. Thank you.
Other announcements?
Yes, I have one announcement. This Saturday, April 25th, from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock at Hayward Middle School, there will be a minority health fair. And there will be health screenings, wellness resources, community programs. You can talk to a doctor, family fitness activities, activities for the kids, music, raffles, giveaways. It's a great program, and it is free to the public, and everyone is welcome. That's this Saturday from 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock at Hayward Middle School.
Any other announcements? Thank you. There is cleanup this Saturday. It's
Yeah,
8 o'clock. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Logan, would you like to
We did
speak
announce
to
that in
the
the last meeting,
community
but we should
cleanup?
announce it in this one, so.
Great question. Thank you, Mr. Lowe. The city's community cleanup day will be this Saturday, the 25th, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Last car would need to be in line at 11 to be serviced. But we invite the community out. Yard debris, tires, any household items will be collected. So you can drive up, someone will offload that from your vehicle. And any additional information is on the city's website. In addition to our Facebook page, proof of residency is required.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Rigsby?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes, thank you for coming.